Exposed, how a billionaire's life-changing gift of octuplets transformed her hidden life forever. Sarah Collins was no stranger to hard work, every day was a testament to her grit. Juggling 2 jobs, a waitress at the local diner and a cleaner at an office building, she wore exhaustion like a badge of honor. With 3 spirited children clamoring for her attention in their cramped little apartment, hope flickered like a match in the wind. Each plate she served and every counter she wiped felt like a step toward a better future, but the weight of financial strains pressed heavily against her chest. The glares and whispers from the townsfolk seeped through her skin, dragging her spirit down. Did they know her struggles? Did they see her heart? Then, one ordinary afternoon, a spark ignited her weary existence. As Sarah sat at the diner, nursing her 3rd cup of coffee, her phone buzzed wildly. It was a message that turned her world upside down. She had been chosen by billionaire philanthropist Elizabeth Hayes for a special octuplet adoption grant. The excitement bubbled inside her like a soda can shaking under pressure. 8 babies. The thrill was intoxicating, yet panic clawed at her. How could she possibly manage 8 newborns while keeping the rhythm of her jobs and her 3 kids? The magnitude of her new reality was almost too much to bear, like a tidal wave crashing over a tiny sand castle. "Are you serious?" she whispered to the empty diner, feeling a warmth spread through her chest and confusion swirl in knots around her stomach. The buzz in the small town heightened. Support, mixed with skepticism, poured in from every corner. "Can she handle it?" they murmured. "What is she thinking?" Weeks passed, the thrill quickly transformed into frantic chaos. Sarah's eldest daughter, Lily, began to slip in school, her grades dwindling like wilted flowers. Her son, Jake, felt ignored, his basketball games muted by the noise of her frenzied life. Every failed attempt to balance everything sent her spiraling further into burnout, exhaustion like a dark fog suffocating her hope. Then one night, exhausted beyond belief, she dozed off while cooking dinner. The flames danced a dangerous tango, an awful smell pulled her from sleep as she leapt into action, extinguishing the small fire just in time. Heart racing, she crumbled to the floor, tears filling her eyes. In that moment, she was a broken mess, underneath the shadow of judgment. The eyes of the town felt sharper than knives. It was then, amidst raw pain, that Sarah met Elizabeth face to face. The meeting was a whirlwind of emotions. As the 2 women exchanged stories of struggle and resilience, Sarah felt a connection that defied their differences in life backgrounds. It wasn't just about the grant, it was about understanding, support, and a mutual fight against societal judgments. Yet, lingering doubts hung in the air like ghosts from their pasts. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Slowly, Sarah's community began to rally. Neighbors dropped off food, babysat her children, and offered encouraging words. Kindness seeped through the cracks of her despair. But with every act of support, fear crept closer, the dread of failure curled around her heart. Could she really do this? Could she embrace the chance of a lifetime while risking everything she knew? As Sarah stood at the crossroads of loyalty and opportunity, she felt hope alight in her chest. Yet, the questions loomed heavier than ever. Would she accept the help? Would she find a way to rise beyond the whispers of judgment? The future hung delicately in balance, leaving her and us on the brink of discovery, yearning for answers. The next day dawned with a heavy sky, gray clouds clinging to the horizon, mirroring the turmoil inside Sarah's heart. She woke up to the sound of Lily softly crying in her room, the unmistakable scent of burnt toast weaving through the air. It was a reminder of the chaos that brewed just beneath the surface of their lives. With a deep breath, she pulled herself out of bed, her body protesting with every movement. "Mom! I can't find my shirt." Jake's voice cut through the morning fog, urgency clinging to each word as he rifled through the piles of laundry that she neglected. "I'll be right there," Sarah replied, forcing a smile as she padded down the narrow hallway. Each child needed her, and her heart ached at the thought of falling short. The looming responsibility of 8 infants felt like a distant storm, but the immediate chaos of her 3 children felt all too real. As she helped Jake tie his shoelaces, exhaustion threatened to pull her under once more. She tried to mask her fears with encouraging words, but her insides twisted with doubt. The thought of how to care for 8 babies overwhelmed her. Could she really handle that level of responsibility? What if she failed? A knock at the door startled her as she busied herself making breakfast. It was her neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, an older woman with kind eyes and a warm smile. "Sarah. Just checking in on you. Thought I'd drop by some muffins." "Thanks, Mrs. Thompson, you're a lifesaver," Sarah exclaimed, feeling a spark of gratitude. Moments like these reminded her that community wasn't just a word, it was these tangible acts of kindness. As the murmur of morning chatter filled the small apartment, Sarah wrapped her hands around her warm cup of coffee, hoping it would infuse her with energy. With each sip, she turned her mind towards Elizabeth. Visiting the affluent side of town, her planned meeting with the billionaire lingering on the calendar felt both exciting and terrifying. What would she say? Was she even worthy of this opportunity? Later that afternoon, Sarah drove to Elizabeth's estate, the massive gates parting to reveal manicured lawns and extravagant landscaping. Her heart raced as she parked and took a moment to absorb the surreal surroundings. This was a world so different from her own, yet she felt a magnetic pull. Perhaps Elizabeth could really help her navigate this unfolding journey. Upon entering, she was greeted with a warm smile and a genuine hug that made her feel instantly welcome. Elizabeth's presence was commanding yet comforting, an anchor in a stormy sea. They sat in a spacious living room adorned with pastel colors that felt almost too bright, like they were in a dream. "Tell me how it's been for you, Sarah," Elizabeth asked, her voice soothing, as if she truly wanted to hear her story. Sarah hesitated, then found herself pouring out her heart, the words tumbling forth like a stream breaking its banks. She spoke of her fears, her doubts, and the overwhelming love she felt for her children. For a brief moment, the weight of her responsibilities lifted as Elizabeth listened intently, nodding along like a supportive friend. As their conversation deepened, Sarah felt a flicker of hope light up inside her. The billionaire offered insights and shared her own stories of struggle, revealing the paths she had walked to find her purpose. The way Elizabeth spoke about family and community sparked something within Sarah, a realization that she wasn't alone in this. Just as it felt like a breakthrough was possible, Elizabeth leaned in, her eyes glistening with intensity. "I believe you can manage this, Sarah. But you need to understand something crucial." Before she could elaborate, a loud crash came from the kitchen. Sarah's heart sank. What now? Her children. She jumped up, racing toward the sound with panic coursing through her veins. As she reached the doorway, her breath hitched. There, in a pile of flour and sugar, were her kids, giggling amidst the mess, flour clouds dancing through the air like feathers. In that moment, overwhelmed by the chaos yet flooded with love, Sarah paused. Would she really embrace this chance, knowing that life wasn't perfect? Would she be able to find balance in the chaos? Questions surged through her mind, each answering the next. As she looked at her children joyful and carefree, Sarah faced an uncertain but exciting future. The beginning of a new chapter was just around the corner, but she had no idea how it would unfold. What did Elizabeth know that could change everything for her? Would embrace the storm and savor each piece of her life? The answers felt tantalizingly close yet just out of reach. The laughter of her children filled the air, lightening the heavy moment that had settled like a cloud over Sarah. She stood frozen, a smile creeping onto her face as she took in the sight of their flower-covered joy. With flower in their hair and sweetness in their laughter, they somehow reminded her of what mattered most. "Okay, you little bakers," she said with a playful sigh, trying to keep her own heart from racing too fast. "Let us clean this up before I lose my mind." As she joined in, laughter mixed with exasperation. Their silliness became a balm to her flaring worries. At that moment, the mess wasn't a burden, it was proof of life bursting forth in vibrant colors, even if it came with a bit of chaos. They spent the next half hour cleaning up, where every wiped counter and sweep of the floor felt like another step toward reclaiming the day and maybe her life. The conversation with Elizabeth lingered in her mind, each word echoing like a promise. If Elizabeth could turn her life around, could Sarah also carve a path through her cluttered existence? Once the kitchen was restored to some semblance of order, Sarah gathered the children for breakfast. Lily giggled as Jake playfully tossed the last of the flour in a dramatic fashion, filling the air with a delicate haze. Sarah shook her head, but she couldn't help but laugh. The weight she carried felt a little lighter. After breakfast, Sarah parked herself on the living room couch, a familiar sense of reflection washing over her. Her phone buzzed, pulling her from her thoughts. It was a text from Elizabeth, thinking of you. Remember to be kind to yourself. We'll work it out together. The warmth in the message struck a chord deep within her. It felt like a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. It was the kind of support she had craved but rarely experienced. In that moment, being seen and understood made her heart swell with hope, but doubt sneaked in like a shadow. What if she wasn't good enough to meet Elizabeth's expectations? What if she later let her down? Just as quickly, a spark of determination ignited. She could do this. The thought of the 8 babies she might one day care for filled her mind again, and she straightened her back, taking a breath as she embraced the swirling emotions all around. As the day stretched on, Sarah knew she had choices to make. A few hours later, her nerves began to bubble as she picked up her phone to dial Elizabeth. The call rang, and she fought the urge to hang up. Then, a voice answered. "Sarah. I'm so glad you called." Elizabeth's tone was bright and welcoming, easing the tension in Sarah's shoulders. I wanted to ask about the babies. What if I can't? What if I mess it all up?" The words tumbled out, raw and vulnerable. There was a pause before Elizabeth's gentle reply. "You won tea. Nobody's asking you to be perfect. It's about doing it together, making mistakes and learning as you go. You're stronger than you think, Sarah." Hearing those words felt like a floodgate opening. Sarah allowed herself to feel the weight of her fears, but alongside it, she also felt a whisper of excitement creeping in. Maybe, just maybe, she could find a way to navigate this new reality of caring for 8 babies. "Okay. I'm in," Sarah said, her voice steady yet soft, the promise of a new beginning surging through her veins. "Great. Meet me tomorrow. I have a plan that I think you'll love," Elizabeth exclaimed, her voice laced with enthusiasm. As Sarah hung up, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was a turning point. She was stepping into something unknown and slightly terrifying, but within that fear was a world of possibility. That night, as Sarah tucked Lily and Jake into bed, her heart was filled with quiet determination. She would embrace the chaos, savor the mess, and open her heart to this chance at transformation. But as she turned off the lights and whispered goodnight, a nagging question lingered in her mind: what if all this hope led her down a path with unforeseen challenges waiting? She took a deep breath, captivated by the bittersweet taste of uncertainty. Tomorrow would bring its own set of trials, but perhaps it would also bring triumphs waiting to be discovered. What other surprises lay in wait with Elizabeth's plan? How would Sarah continue to grow through the chaos of motherhood and ambition? The morning sunlight streamed through the kitchen window, casting a warm glow that felt almost surreal. Sarah sat at the breakfast table, her coffee cooling next to her untouched toast, lost in thoughts about her meeting with Elizabeth. Today would be different, she could feel it in her bones. Lily and Jake dashed around, feigning superhero powers as they leapt from chair to table. Their giggles wrapped around Sarah, momentarily lifting her spirits. "Save me from the villain," she called out, eliciting more laughter as they both pretended to fight off invisible enemies. Yet, in the back of her mind, the weight of her anticipation lingered. After breakfast, she took a moment to steady herself. Her heart raced with excitement and apprehension as she walked through the streets, the crisp air invigorating her. Each step felt like a leap of faith. Today was about forging a path, stepping into the unknown. Elizabeth's place was far, and soon Sarah stood outside a charming little coffee shop, the smell of freshly brewed coffee wafting out to greet her. Taking a deep breath, she stepped inside, where the rich aroma enveloped her. Elizabeth waved from a cozy corner, her smile immediately easing some of Sarah's nerves. "Sarah! You made it!" Elizabeth exclaimed, her excitement contagious. "Thanks for having me." "I'm ready to hear your plan," Sarah replied, though her voice wavered slightly. They settled into their seats, Elizabeth stirring her coffee with purpose. "So, here's the thing," she began, leaning closer. "I've been working on a project that involves a lot of coordination and a little chaos, kind of like parenting. And I need someone like you." "What kind of project?" Sarah asked, curiosity piqued. "Remember the organization I mentioned? The one that helps families with multiplets? We're expanding. There's a need for someone to manage volunteers and day-to-day operations. It's flexible, you can do it alongside your home responsibilities." Her heart thudded loudly in her chest. It was a dream come true, yet a part of her hesitated. "But what if I can't handle it? I've never really done anything like that before." Elizabeth reached out, placing a reassuring hand on Sarah's. "You're more capable than you think. You've already succeeded at the hardest part, managing your own kids. This could be a beautiful opportunity for you to grow and make a difference." A wave of warmth washed over Sarah as the idea began to unfold. Helping others could bring purpose back into her life, a way to pour her heart into something bigger than herself. She envisioned little hearts and faces, just like Lily and Jake, finding hope and love in her efforts, but doubt crept back in, shadowing her enthusiasm. "What if I fail?" Elizabeth smiled gently. "Failure is just a stepping stone. It means you're trying. And I'll be right here, supporting you every step of the way." Time slipped away as they dove deeper into ideas, roles, and responsibilities. With each passing moment, Sarah felt a shift happening within her, a budding confidence that had long felt buried. As they concluded their meeting, excitement danced in her chest. "Okay, I'm in," Sarah said, a grin spreading across her face. "Wonderful. Let's strategize this week and get you on board. The more hands, the better." Elizabeth replied, giddy with enthusiasm. The ride home felt lighter, her presence in the world ignited. She envisioned nurturing the tiny lives that might soon come into her care, and a sense of purpose wrapped warmly around her heart. Yet, as Sarah stepped inside her home, laughter still echoing through the halls, an unsettling worry began to nudge her thoughts. What would it mean to balance her own children and the responsibilities of helping others? She found herself staring at the chaos strewn across the living room, the toys, the remnants of breakfast, the limitless energy her kids radiated. Could she really take on more? That night, as she lay in bed, contemplation swirled with excitement. What challenges awaited her in this new journey? Would she once again find herself spinning in chaos, or would she discover a newfound strength? Her heart thumped, filled with possibility, as she closed her eyes. Would she be ready when the real challenges began to surface? The soft hum of morning surrounded Sarah as she opened her eyes, the sun streaming through the curtains just as it had the previous day. But today felt different. Today was the day she would take her first steps into her new journey. As she sat up, a wave of determination washed over her. She would carve out a place not just for her children but for a community eager for support. After a quick breakfast, she gathered the kids. "Guess what? I have a new project I want to work on, and I'm going to need your help." Their eyes sparkled with curiosity, and Sarah couldn't help but smile. "What are we going to do, Mom?" Jake asked, still wearing his favorite superhero cape. "I'll be helping families like ours, families with lots of kids. And sometimes it might get a little messy, but that just means we'll have some fun together." Each word ignited a spark in them, and soon they were excitedly brainstorming ways they could contribute. The following days turned into a blur of activity. Sarah dove into preparation mode, balancing her time between gathering resources for the organization and managing her home. She called different places for supplies, met with volunteers, and attended training sessions. Every time she learned something new, adrenaline surged through her, filling her with a mixture of fear and excitement. But the doubt crept in during the quiet moments. What if she was spreading herself too thin? Late at night, she lay awake listening to the faint sounds of her kids breathing, filled with love but also worry. Would they understand? Could she still be the same attentive mother while taking on this heavy responsibility? On a particularly hectic evening, she returned home from a meeting to utter chaos. Toys littered the floor, and Jake and Lily were embroiled in a friendly tug-of-war over a stuffed animal. Frustration boiled up within her. "Guys, clean up this mess," she shouted, her voice echoing against the walls. Jake's face fell, and he dropped the toy. "But Mom, we were just playing." Taking a deep breath, Sarah stepped back, feeling the rush of embarrassment wash over her. "You're right. I'm sorry. I've had a long day, and I didn't mean to snap at you. Let us sort this out together." In that moment of vulnerability, she felt a shift. They were a team, and they could navigate this chaos together. With her kids helping, they cleaned the room quickly, giggles resuming as they raced each other to stuff toys back in their bins. The very next day, energized by the previous night's resolution, Sarah met with Elizabeth again to discuss logistics. Ideas flowed seamlessly. Sarah found herself suggesting innovative ways to improve their outreach and bond with other families. "Why don't we have a meetup day for all the families? A potluck picnic where everyone can share stories?" she proposed, her voice buzzing with excitement. Elizabeth's eyes sparkled. "That's brilliant. It'll help build community and give families a chance to connect beyond our usual support meetings." As they dove deeper into planning, Sarah felt as if she was coming alive in ways she hadn't anticipated. Each conversation brought her closer to her purpose, revealing bits of herself she hadn't acknowledged in years. But as she pulled into her driveway later that week, at the end of a long day, an internal flicker of fear ignited again. Were she and Elizabeth taking on too much too soon? What would happen if the families didn't connect? What if, amidst all this chaos, she lost sight of her own family? The weight of responsibility pressed on her chest as she watched her kids play in the yard, unaware of their mother's anxieties. She wanted to give them everything, but when was she giving too much of herself away? That night, lying in bed, she wrapped herself tightly in her comforter. The excitement of the journey mingled with the anxiety that gnawed at her. Would she find the balance she needed? Could she truly make a difference without losing herself in the process? Tomorrow would bring another day of sitting in meetings and juggling responsibilities. Sarah sighed deeply, letting her thoughts drift like clouds, simple yet heavy. Just as sleep began to pull her under, one last thought surfaced, clear and demanding. What if everything she feared was just an illusion, waiting to be dismantled one step at a time? The following day, the sun rose with a hopeful gleam, almost as if it were teasing Sarah to embrace the challenges ahead. She started her morning with a renewed sense of purpose, reminding herself that each step mattered. After breakfast, she called the kids into the living room. "All right, team. Today, we get to plan the big potluck." Their faces lit up with energy, and questions flew. "Can we bring cupcakes?" Lily asked, her pigtails bobbing with enthusiasm. "Absolutely. And Jake, you can help me with the decorations," Sarah said, watching her kids spark with ideas. This was what she had hoped for, joy intertwined with purpose. As they brainstormed, time flew. Sarah could already imagine families arriving with dishes, children running around, laughter filling the air. It all felt so right, but lingering worries clung to her like shadows. By the afternoon, she met with Elizabeth again. They spread out their planning materials across the dining room table, filled with snacks and colorful markers. The energy was palpable as they plotted logistics and brainstormed activities to engage families. But amidst the excitement, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that she was teetering on a precipice. What if it all goes wrong? She finally said, her voice a whisper that went against the joyful hum around them. Elizabeth paused, looking at her with understanding. Sarah, it's not about perfection. It's about connection. You're doing this to help others. Your heart is in the right place, she reassured gently, placing a hand on Sarah's arm. Those words hung in the air, mixing with Sarah's apprehension. Suddenly, Liz's phone buzzed, breaking the spell. It was a message about the venue deposit, and Liz's expression shifted from warmth to tension. Ugh, we still need to figure out the budget. I thought we'd have enough. She trailed off, her eyes darting back to her phone. In that moment, Sarah felt her anxiety bubble again. We can make it work, Liz. Let us reach out to families for contributions, she proposed, willing hope to overshadow her fears. As the evening approached and they wrapped up their planning session, Sarah's heart raced with both excitement and sorrow. She felt a deep yearning to make it work, yet every step felt like a leap into the great unknown. That night, she tucked the kids into bed, pulling the covers snugly under their chins. They smiled up at her, trust shining in their eyes. Good night, Mom. Tomorrow will be so fun. Jake chirped, and Sarah couldn't help but smile back. Good night, you too. Tomorrow, we'll make magic happen, she whispered, kissing their foreheads, but as she shut the door and walked down the hallway, the weight returned. What if she did fail? What if her excitement turned to disappointment? To build a community, she said to herself, echoing her earlier thoughts. I need to believe in this. Days passed quickly. The potluck was just around the corner. Sarah and Elizabeth put the final touches on their plans, inviting every family they could reach. The anticipation was electrifying, but doubts clawed at her insides. Was she ready for this? The night before the event, Sarah couldn't sleep. She tossed and turned, haunted by images of empty picnic tables and quiet faces. Every shadow in her room seemed to amplify her fears. Finally, she sat up, staring at the moonlight filtering through her window. It cast silver beams across her floor, illuminating the path ahead. I can't let fear dictate my choices, she whispered into the silence. As dawn broke, a spark ignited in her. This wasn't just about her. It was about hope, connection, and a chance to create something beautiful. In the heart of that uncertainty, she found the courage to rise, yet just when she thought she was prepared, an unexpected knock echoed through the house, shifting her focus. Who could that be this early? With a heart pounding in her chest, she tightened her robe and moved toward the door. Was this the intervention she needed, or the last hurdle before reaching her dreams? The moment she opened the door, her entire world would take an unimaginable turn. Standing at the door, Sarah hesitated for a moment, the cool morning air sending a chill down her spine. She took a deep breath and let it out slowly, her hand trembling on the doorknob. The knock had come at a time she least expected, right when she was gathering her resolve for the day ahead. She opened the door to find a tall figure silhouetted against the morning light. It was a stranger, an older man dressed in a tailored suit, starkly contrasting with the casual attire of her morning. His eyes were a piercing blue and held a sense of urgency. Hello, ma'am, he said sharply, his voice smooth yet commanding. I'm Robert Sterling. I represent a community support organization. We caught wind of your potluck event. Sarah blinked, confusion clouding her thoughts. Oh, hi. You did? Yes, he replied, stepping closer. We're keen to assist. There's still time to boost your plans. He handed her a card, simple yet elegant, the embossed letters catching the sunlight. We want to help sponsor your event. It can be a wonderful opportunity to strengthen community ties. Her heart raced, an intoxicating mix of disbelief and hope coursing through her. Wait, you want to help? Really? I mean, how? Robert smiled slightly, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. We can provide decorations, food contributions, even some activities for the kids. I can have a team here within hours to help set up. It's all part of our initiative to support grassroots community efforts. Sarah stood there, her mind spinning. Could she trust this stranger? Was this for real? But I don't know you, she exclaimed, her voice trembling slightly. What's the catch? Well, he said, raising his eyebrows slightly, I suppose the catch is that we believe in investing in people. We've heard about your efforts, and I can assure you, it comes from a genuine place. Successful communities thrive on collaboration. Shouldn't I check references or something? She protested, her protective instincts kicking in. Everything can be verified. But think about it, this might be the chance you were waiting for. Imagine how much more you can achieve with additional support, he said, leaning slightly closer, his tone coaxing. A community is only as strong as its leaders. Today, you could become a beacon of hope for many. Sarah felt a wave of longing sweep over her. The thought of those picnic tables filled with families, laughter erupting across the park, the connection she yearned to create flooded her mind. But could she really take this leap of faith? She thought about her children, how much they believed in her, how much she believed in them. I need to talk to my friend first, she finally stammered. Of course. Talk to her, but time is short, Robert reminded her, his voice steady. An opportunity like this doesn't knock often. Excitement should be coupled with decisiveness. The door still hung ajar, Sarah lost in the swirling tides of uncertainty. Was this a sign or a trap? Just then, she heard a soft voice behind her. Mom. Lily called out, her small frame peeking around the corner. Sarah turned briefly, heartwarming hope igniting again. I'm okay, sweetie. But as her gaze drifted back to Robert, a knot tightened in her chest. A decision loomed in front of her, balancing risk against potential fulfillment. Could something good come from this? Taking a deep breath, Sarah steeled herself. All right, let's discuss this further, but I have to make sure it's right for my community. Robert's lips curled into a smile, but Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a much larger story. As she closed the door behind her, the uncertainty didn't vanish, but rather transformed into a flicker of anticipation. She felt the pulse of possibility as she turned to call for Elizabeth. What would they choose together, and would they be ready for whatever came next? Chills ran up Sarah's spine. What if this was the moment everything changed? Would they find strength in each other, or would this unexpected partnership unravel the very community she aimed to build? As the door clicked shut, Sarah stood frozen, her heart beating a frantic rhythm. The weight of Robert's proposals lingered in the air like a thick fog. What did it mean to accept help from a stranger? She felt an urgency to reconnect with Elizabeth, her trusted friend who had always been her sounding board in moments of uncertainty. Lily. Can you give me a minute? She called out, shaking off the last remnants of self-doubt. The little girl nodded and scampered into her room, leaving Sarah alone with her swirling thoughts. Each scenario played out in her mind like a film reel, pictures of joyous families enjoying the potluck, kids chasing each other, laughter ringing out against the backdrop of the park. But lurking beneath that joy was the nagging question of trust. What if Robert was leading her astray? What if his intentions weren't as pure as he claimed? Blood rushed in her ears as she pulled out her phone and dialed Elizabeth. Hey, Sarah. What's up? Elizabeth's voice was bright and cheerful, cutting through the haze of Sarah's worries. Can we meet? Like, right now? She implored, her voice tinged with urgency. Of course. Is everything okay? Not really. There's someone here, he wants to help with the potluck, but I don't know. It feels kind of off, Sarah admitted, anxiety bubbling to the surface. I'll be over in 10, Elizabeth replied, tone shifting from playful to serious. As Sarah hung up, she walked to the living room, hands fidgeting with each other. The morning light spilled into the room, illuminating the drawings her children had created. Each piece of art filled with vibrant colors and heartfelt messages, a tangible reminder of why she was working so hard for this event. She couldn't let herself ruin that. After what felt like an eternity, a knock on the door jolted her out of her thoughts. She opened it to find Elizabeth standing there, her expression shifting from surprise to concern. "Tell me everything," Elizabeth said, stepping inside. Sarah recounted the encounter with Robert, every detail spilling out rapidly as she paced around the room. Elizabeth listened intently, concern etched across her features. "What do you think?" Sarah asked, stopping to face her friend, desperation in her voice. "I think it could be a great opportunity. But I agree, let us be cautious. Why don't we meet him together? That way, we can figure out if he is for real," Elizabeth suggested, her tone steadier now, breath caught in Sarah's throat. The idea of facing Robert again was daunting, but she felt a surge of support at having Elizabeth by her side. "Okay, let us do it." They headed back towards the door, Sarah's heart racing with every step outside. The sky felt brighter now, as if the universe was offering a nudge of encouragement. But when they reached the park, apprehension gripped her. What if he turned out to be just another broken promise in a long line of disappointments? As they approached, Robert stood by his sleek black car, waiting with an expectant smile that sent chills down her spine. But she wouldn't allow herself to be swayed by his charm this time. "Mrs. Sterling. Glad you could make it," Robert said, greeting them with an air of confidence. "Thank you for meeting with us. We appreciate your offer, but we have some questions," Elizabeth stated firmly, coming to stand beside Sarah. The words hung in the air, heavy and fragile. Sarah felt the tension building, aware that both hope and fear rested in this pivotal moment. Did they have the courage to seek the truth behind Robert's intentions? As they began to talk, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this was just a prelude to something much larger than they anticipated. Would they uncover a hidden agenda, or would they forge a partnership that could change everything for their community? The possibilities intertwined with uncertainty, each word exchanged heavy with meaning. Something big was on the horizon, and Sarah felt its electric charge deep within her. "Let us get to the heart of the matter," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. But her resolve flickered like a candle in the wind. What awaited them next? The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the park, creating an atmosphere that felt charged yet fragile. Sarah could see families enjoying their day, blissfully unaware of the tension that loomed around her. She focused on Robert, trying to read his expression. He looked composed, his smile unwavering. Yet, there was an unsettling glimmer in his eyes that sent chills down her spine. "So, what exactly do you have in mind for the potluck?" Elizabeth asked, her tone clipped, each word carefully measured. Robert's hands animatedly gestured as he spoke, the charm radiating off him like a bright light. "I want to help you make this event unforgettable. Our company can sponsor the food and, with my connections, we can bring in some fantastic entertainment." His words were smooth, but Sarah felt resistance stir within her. "Why? What's in it for you?" Sarah blurted, her heart pounding, an edge in her voice that surprised even her. "Oh, come on, Sarah," Robert leaned in, the confidence oozing out of him. "This isn't just a charitable act, it'll be good for my image too. But genuinely, I want to make a difference here. We can do this together." The sincerity in his voice felt rehearsed, practiced. Elizabeth exchanged a glance with Sarah, her eyes searching for a sign of reassurance. Would trusting him open the door to opportunity or usher in something darker? "Let us not forget," Elizabeth interjected, her voice firm. "This is a community event. We can't let personal gain cloud the purpose. We need to make sure we're acting in the best interests of our community." Robert's gaze faltered for a moment, only to be replaced by a cool, calculated smile. "Absolutely, I respect that. But you also have to understand that quality comes at a price. If we do this, it has to be done right." "Right," Sarah echoed, feeling a surge of protectiveness toward her community. She turned to Elizabeth as if seeking validation. We want our neighbors to be part of this. Not just spectators. A tick appeared near Robert's eye, a slight shift in his poise that emphasized the tension hanging between them. Of course. Everyone can be involved. But you need to trust the process. Trust. The very word sent shivers down Sarah's spine. How could anyone truly trust someone with so much at stake? A million scenarios unfurled in her mind, plans to undermine, motives hidden behind a mask of goodwill. Let us sleep on it, Elizabeth suggested, clearly sensing Sarah's unease. We'll reach out if we decide to go forward. The silence stretched, heavy with unasked questions. Robert studied them with interest, a smirk creeping across his lips. It felt like they were chess pieces moving across a board, yet the game was far from over. Sure, I can give you time. But don't let this opportunity slip away. You wouldn't want to regret not taking a chance, he warned, leaving his words lingering in the air like a challenge. As Robert turned to walk toward his car, a sudden rush of clarity washed over Sarah. This was more than a potluck now, it felt like a critical moment that could potentially reshape everything. Wait! She called out, feeling her heart race. But Robert had already opened the car door. He paused, glancing back, intrigue etched on his face. I need to know more before we decide anything, she pushed out, her voice steady. You'll find out soon enough, Robert replied, the door clicking shut with a finality that echoed through the chilly air. His parting smile felt like a threat masked as cordiality. A mixture of determination and dread gripped Sarah. Elizabeth took her arm, squeezing tightly. You did well. That's a tough position to be in. Did I? I feel tangled in his web already. As they began to walk back, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that the answers they sought were buried deeper than surface conversations. The thrill of the unknown beckoned to her, enticing yet unsettling. What if Robert's true intentions were far more sinister than she ever could have imagined? The thought haunted her as they left the park behind, the shadows growing longer, the sky turning a deep shade of purple. Next time we meet, we'll need a plan. We can't go in blind, Elizabeth said, her voice resolute. As they walked into the fading daylight, Sarah felt a chilling awareness that this was just the beginning. Little did they know, the choices they made next might have repercussions that would reach far beyond a simple potluck. What choices would they make to protect their community, and at what cost? The clock was ticking, and Sarah sensed there would be no easy escape from the tension that lay ahead. The sun set low in the sky as Sarah sat on her porch, the evening breeze sending a shiver of anticipation down her spine. The potluck was only days away, yet excitement mingled with worry, each emotion weaving into her thoughts. She replayed the conversation with Robert over and over, every word a turning point. Trust the process, he said, but what did that really mean? Was he genuinely interested in helping, or merely a wolf in sheep's clothing? Her heart thickened with responsibility. She glanced inside, where Lily and Jake were sprawled out, lost in coloring books, blissfully unaware of the swirling storms outside. Their laughter bubbled up to her, a reminder of why she was fighting so hard. Later that night, Sarah reached for her phone, hesitating briefly before dialing Elizabeth's number. The weight of the organization's future rested heavily on her shoulders. Hey, Sarah. Feeling the nerves? Elizabeth's voice crackled through the receiver. Something like that. I can't stop thinking about Robert. Should we meet him again? I don't want to dismiss him if he can actually help our community. We need to be smart about it. Maybe we can get other families involved to gauge how everyone feels about his contributions, Elizabeth suggested, her tone firm yet supportive. Let us turn this into a community decision. I like that idea. Relief flooded Sarah, her friend had a way of grounding her. They spent the next hour brainstorming ways to involve everyone, turning their worry into action. The excitement began to spark in Sarah, a little flame igniting hope. The morning of the potluck dawned bright and hopeful. Sarah felt a buzz in her chest as she prepped in the kitchen. The aromas of baked goods filled the air, a mix of sugar and spice. Funny how it felt like the heart of her home was now bursting with irrepressible joy, but as the time drew near, so did the weight of decision. The potluck was about more than food and fun, it was about weaving their community together, painting over the cracks of doubt. She could feel the eyes of everyone in town on her. When Elizabeth arrived, her car loaded with supplies, Sarah could see the familiar spark in her friend's eyes, the same determination. "Let us make this day count," Elizabeth exclaimed. They set up tables under the sprawling oaks in the park, each step feeling light yet purposeful. Families began to filter in, their smiles bright against the green backdrop. Sarah's heart swelled at the sight of neighbors coming together, those they had fought so hard for. Laughter echoed, conversations ignited, and for the first time, she felt the community's pulse beat in sync with her own. Just then, Sarah spotted Robert approaching, a confident stride marking his path. "Nice to see the event in full swing," he said, his smile warm but calculating. "You've done well." "Thanks, I guess," Sarah replied carefully, unable to shake off the unease. "We thought you could join us. Share what you can offer." Robert hesitated, then nodded, his expression shifting slightly. As they stood together, surrounded by the laughter of families, she made a bold move. "Can we talk about how your support works? What is your vision for all of this?" He studied her for a moment, a flicker of something in his eyes. "My vision? Helping you make this a staple in the community, one that showcases growth and strength." There it was again, a genuine flash, like sunlight breaking through clouds. As Sarah listened, her heart raced. There were layers to Robert she hadn't seen before, a passion for community, a passion that could align with her dreams. "We need clarity," Elizabeth interjected. "Respect and authenticity matter more than anything." A moment of silence stretched as his gaze darted between the friends. "I can appreciate that. Your lives are on the line here, just as mine is for my business. But I have something to offer: connections, resources. Then let us build something together." "No hidden agendas," Sarah added firmly, her determination matched only by her hope. The sun dipped toward the horizon, casting everything in gold, a perfect metaphor for their collective future. Robert nodded, something like respect mingling with revelation gleaming in his eyes. "Deal." This moment felt monumental. With each conversation that followed, the weight of Sarah's burdens began to lift. Her vision for the potluck intertwined with Robert's plan, the final pieces of the puzzle falling into place. As the chaos of chicken wings, macaroni salad, and laughter filled the air, Sarah realized that everything she had fought for was standing right there before her. She drew her arms around Lily and Jake, who were eating dessert. Those tiny, sweet moments defined purpose. Later, when the evening sun had turned to twilight, Sarah collected herself, facing the families gathered. "Thank you for being here, for believing in not just today, but what we can create together. This is our community, chaotic, beautiful, and full of potential." Cheers erupted, children squealed, and Sarah's heart soared. In that moment, she let go of the cloud of doubt. It was no longer about individual struggles, it became about shared hope, woven through laughter and connection. As the night deepened, Sarah spotted Elizabeth after mingling among families, Michael from the flower shop offering to donate bouquets for future events, and Mrs. Thompson hugging her goodnight. The community was rising, not just around the meal they shared, but in the unity their hope had created. Tomorrow wouldn't be easy, but with connection sewn into their fabric, Sarah believed they could handle any challenge. To new beginnings. She cheered, raising her glass, and together, they toasted not just to the night, but to transformations ahead. In that shining moment, Sarah understood, together, they could weather any storm. Now, this is your chance to join us in this hopeful journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss our next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and trust me, it matters. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. We want to hear from you, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support means the world to us.